As of speaking, the UK Apprentice has ran from its 13 series. In doing so, it has taken on over 100 business people in various challenges such as sales, marketing and developing products. One of the most memorable candidates over the 13 series has been this man, Jim Eastwood. Throughout his time on The Apprentice, Jim garnered a reputation for being able to influence people around him. In this video, I'm going to be analysing Jim during The Apprentice and showing you some of the subtle techniques he uses to gain power both in sales and in the boardroom. The first clip I'm about to show you will be Jim convincing Leon not to take him back into the final three to get fired.
I really wish I could say the best product won.
We did mention that we need to be very careful not to offend anybody with the product.
Yeah. We had 500 people laughing at us on stage doing that. You tell me, is that offensive or is that entertaining?
I'm just going to have to ask you straight, was anyone not pulling their weight? Now, who the hell am I going to bring in here?
Now, I wanted to show you the prelim discussion before they go into the boardroom. This is because in this clip, Leon reveals he has doubt about who is the person responsible for the failure of the task. It's my belief that Jim must remember this when he goes into the boardroom because he knows that Leon is therefore convincing.
I agree, we should have walked it. There was a fundamental miss. We didn't quite grasp the fact that the global and the stereotyping would be a negative.
Now, if I've understood correctly, you have an icon and a description that goes up on all the app stores. Who was responsible for drafting the words?
In its entirety, me.
Entirely you?
Yes.
You sure you want to say that?
Well, I'll clarify what I mean by that. I prepared a piece. The guy said, "You've hit the nail exactly on the head. Well done, round of applause."
Jim uses imagery here because it sticks in people's heads. It's very easy for you to remember something if you have an image of it in your head, such as the other members of the team giving him a round of applause.
So if I was to say to you that one of the biggest things is to get it straight away. So here's the girls. It's going out globally, worldwide, to everybody. And their first line is, "Screeching chalk and animal snorts are all part of the Ampy app." Bang. Straight away. I've got it. I got it. Screeching chalk and animal snorts. That's what we're selling. Okay, now listen, compared to yours, Slangatang is the entertainment app that gives you the opportunity to listen to hilarious local vocal. I'm bored.
Certainly, hearing that as you read it out, I feel like a mug. Our description is not nearly as strong as it could be, or as strong as the girls.
So do we all agree here that these words actually was one of the reasons why this task failed? Or not?
Well, you know, the PM has a job of overseeing everyone in the group. I read it back to the group, asked for their full approval, asked the PM to concur with me and to proofread it with me, and they were 100%.
So now we're sharing responsibility for this then, are we?
I'm pausing it now so you can see the reframe that Jim does here. Instead of outrightly disagreeing, he instead goes, well, what you've got to look at is the bigger picture of this whole thing. Again, in any sort of negotiation or debate, framing is arguably the most important thing. If you want to know more about framing, check out my other video on how to debate, link in the description.
You better get down to the nitty-gritty here, boys. Do you think your team leader did a good job or not?
He did a good job leading the team, but maybe he made a bad decision with the app.
He made a bad decision with the app that you designed, that you thought up.
We all put ideas forward. We all put ideas forward.
So, who's responsible for the failure of this task? You?
I wouldn't say I am, obviously, but...
Alex?
No, I made a very valid contribution to this, and I've no way got any...
Lord Sugar, I can answer that. There are participants and there are spectators. I'm a participant, and I positively get involved in things and put myself forward to do things. In that same respect, Alex, you do not do that. Maybe you're biding your time, but I don't believe this process is about biding your time.
Quite right.
It's about participating and giving everything that you've got and putting yourself out there.
Again, look at this reframe by Jim. Instead of addressing the question, he defines the parameters instead. This process is about participating or being a bystander. He's literally defining the argument of which they're going to debate, and he's defining it in a way in which he'll win.
If we just think about this for a second, actually, we've got a worded ad there that wasn't right. Jim, that comes back to you, and we've got the pitch
it's unanimous.
that we didn't...
The worded ad, let me clarify. Let me clarify so you can make sure.
You had the final say on it.
No, the PM has the final say. Okay, we could talk over each other, or you could give me an opportunity to say this. You clapped your hands, as did everybody else. You agreed as much as anybody else, and it was
next to you.
That's fine, Alex. Yeah. It was unanimous. But you've got to put yourself out there. It's not about being a passenger.
I've not been a passenger at all, but a lot of this stems back to you on this task individually.
I want you to look at why Jim won that frame battle. Notice how he never denies his responsibility for writing the ad. He knows that to do so would be stupid because he's already admitted to writing the ad. So instead he goes back to a truth. The PM has the final decision, which is true. Alex loses the frame battle. He directly responds to Jim's question with, "I'm not a passenger." But he never gives evidence as to why he's not a passenger. Hence, his argument is weak. The problem with Alex's frame is that he still hasn't justified anything that he's done. Any criticism he has of Jim could easily be answered with, "Well, what did you do?" Again, what's really important to focus on is how Jim is communicating. He communicates very slowly, very firmly. This is why Jim is in control of the negotiation, and what's more is why his misdirection, referring to the PM making the final decision, is so effective.
You might have saved one pitch, but you saved a small pitch. You didn't get the big pitch, did you?
My contribution is more positive than negative. Your contribution is nada.
Two things I want you to spot in that last clip. One, look at the difference in Jim's tonality compared to Alex. Jim is constantly using downward tonality to make his point hold more gravitas. The other point I want you to notice is the difference in body language. Watch how much Alex is moving compared to Jim. When Jim moves, it's big, firm movements. He's sure of himself. When you talk about communication, you have to remember that over 70% of communication is body language.
Well, look, here's a fact. Here's a fact. Leon, you have got to make a decision which two people you're bringing back in here, OK? What's your instinct? Who are you bringing back in?
Based on sort of the feedback I've been hearing today, I'd like to bring back Alex and Jim.
Alex and Jim.
Well, it's interesting that he chose myself and Alex. There's actually a few fall guys. Vincent fluffed his speech and I had to save the day, and I don't fluff speeches. Glenn designed the app that turned out to be crap. Well, 2 tasks in, I've given 100% effort.
Jim has done a sterling job throughout.
Again, this is a masterclass in frame control. Instead of using the word, "I don't think you should bring me in," Jim instead is sure of himself. He says, "Well, that's interesting you've decided to bring me and Alex in." And then he goes and he gives a list of reasons why other people should be brought into the boardroom. He also reframes it, so he brings it back to considering him over the 2-week period. They've done one more task before this, in which he excelled. He's also very indirect. He's merely stating facts, and then he lets Leon's mind and Leon's doubt bring his own conclusions to the table. A word of advice if you're going to try and reframe like this in real life. When you go to reframe, you have to sound completely sure. So when you enter, go in loud. Make sure you are heard. And avoid using words that make it sound like a subjective reframe, such as "I think" or "in my opinion." Instead, do what Jim did. Say, "Oh, well, it's interesting you've done that because these are the facts."
And listen.
Well, then I'm not the person you should be bringing in if you agree that I've done a sterling job today, so you need to change your decision.
So So on the basis of maybe Jim's dealing here, I mean, do you want me to change? Is that?
I'm asking you. You're the man. You're bringing in.
It's obvious.
Okay.
It's obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious. Okay.
Again, this is getting people on a yes ladder. He brings him into the frame. Well, if this is true, then this must be true, and then this must be true. He makes Leon believe that because he's agreed with all those points about the app design being rubbish, that therefore he must also agree that Jim should not be brought back into the boardroom. But the most important thing is that he's let Leon conclude this for himself rather than be told it. Now we're going to see what happens when Glenn tries to do the exact same thing but gets completely the opposite results.
There's a potential here that it could be down to the concept. So, okay, on the basis of the failing of this task down to the app, I'm going to bring Glenn.
You want to bring me back? I don't think you should. Because...
Listen, Glenn, I know...
It's done and agreed.
I know.
I don't think you should. What do you think, Jim? Do you think I should be back here?
The PM's made a decision. I highlighted who I thought who made flaws and made mistakes. He's chosen you, Glenn.
Well, I think it should be Tom who's in here because I think he should be...
The point is, he makes the final decision. I want to get home tonight. Speak.
This is my final decision.
Right.
The reframe didn't work because Glenn kept saying, well, I think. He's emphasising that this is just his opinion. It's not facts. As opposed to Jim, who just listed off facts. Jim also never needed to say the word I. That's because he'd done a thing called assuming the sale, where you make assumptions as if the perception you are trying to give is a given anyway.
Okay, the rest of you, you've lost. You shouldn't have lost this task. Go back to the house. The other three of you, go and wait outside and I'll call you back in shortly.
So I hope you've all enjoyed that analysis of The Apprentice and Jim Eastwood in the boardroom. There'll be another video coming soon where I'll be showing you Jim's secrets to selling anything. But until then, please remember to like, subscribe, and feel free to check out any of my other videos on my channel. Thanks for watching.